Hi everyone, good morning. Firstly, before I get into this, I wanted to say thank you so much for always doing your best every day, and that I'm very proud of you for actually attempting to answer these past paper questions without having me to be there with you at all times. They are pretty difficult, and I have already checked your survey answers, and I'm going to go through the questions and explain to you guys how to understand these questions today. So none of you guys voted for question 1, so I'm just gonna go right ahead on to question number 2. Okay, so let me get my pen ready. I'll use a red pen today. Okay, so it says here, in an experiment to investigate transpiration, the leaves of 4 identical shoots. So we're looking at transpiration, and 4 identical shoots are treated as follows. First, the upper surfaces was covered with waterproof jelly. Okay, so if I draw a leaf like this, so we know that the leaf is pretty much 3D. So in the first one, it says here that just at the top, they have covered it with waterproof jelly. Waterproof means that no water can pass through. Okay, so the second one, the next situation we have is that the lower surfaces instead is covered with waterproof jelly. That means that no water can go in and out. And then you have the third situation where it's both. So both up and also up and down is covered. And then you have 4, which is untreated. That means that it is fresh and nothing happened to it. So if water is about to be lost, then it can go out. The first thing that you need to know about this is the fact that transpiration, the definition itself, is the loss of water vapor. And you start off with the evaporation of water from the surface of the mesophyll layer, which is somewhere in here, and then followed by the loss of water through the stomata. So the stomata can only be found at the bottom of the leaf. So if we were to ever lose water, it's gonna come out over here. It'll never go up here. So water will never be lost up here because they do have a waxy cuticle and there's no stomata, no guard cells at the top. So covering the top part of the leaf with waterproof jelly will do nothing basically. Okay, so which line shows the result of shoot 4? Shoot 4 is just showing you the fact that water is going to be lost throughout the day. And it says, so we have A, B, C, and D. And you look over here at this y-axis, amount of water loss as you go up. That means that it increases, and this means at the x-axis, the further you go here, that means as time increases. So what we're looking at here is that the amount of water loss should be basically high as compared to all the other situations. So the only one that shows you that there's a high loss of water here is A. So what this means is that as time passes by, so when the clock is ticking, like maybe 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, 4 minute, 5 minute, or even maybe an hour, and then so this means that, so if you just draw like lines, so let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we'll just pretend like it's all in ml, you know, because it's easier for me to basically imagine. So if we look over here, at like, let's say at 3 seconds, no, at 2 seconds, which is over here, point A has already lost 3 amounts of water, and then you have point B has lost about here, so maybe a 1.5 at 2 seconds, and this one is like less than 1, and this is even less than 1. So this shows you that the line, the results you get in A has the highest amount of water loss, like compared to the others in terms of their rate of water loss. So the answer here is A. I don't even know why they needed to tell you the other stuff and show you these other ones. Or maybe like just, I don't even know why they needed to show you all these other situations. I think it's just, honestly, the questions, especially MCQ, are here to make you confused, and they're here to test whether or not you are confident in knowing the content of biology and that topic. So I get it that you'll be like, why? But that's what they're here for. They're here to challenge you. That's why we are practicing together, so that we can overcome the final boss, which is the O-levels. Yes. Okay, so I hope that made sense. If you are able to kind of like apply maths to this, especially when it comes to looking at the rate and the slope of the slopes of these line graphs, then you might be able to kind of answer that better. I hope my explanation was not too bad for you. Okay, I'm going to move on to question number 3. Okay, for question number 3, it says here, the samples of 4 different tissues are removed from the same plant. The concentration of water is measured. Which one would have the highest concentration? So the keywords here is water and highest water concentration. You have leaf epithelium. So epithelium of the leaf is basically, we're talking about the upper and the lower epidermis. So epithelium is basically, it means the lining. We have leaf mesophyll, and you have 2, which is a palisade and the spongy. And then you have xylem. So you know, in the leaf cross section, you have the xylem at the top right here. And this is a very tricky question. It's literally asking you about where can you find the most water and which one is the one that transports water. That would be your xylem. So the answer is actually D over here. Question number 3. Okay, question number 4 next. The diagram shows a plant in flask of water. It is left in light. Okay, so that means that they can photosynthesize. Okay, at 16 degrees for 6 hours. 16 degrees, okay lah, not too hot, not too cold. I mean, it's actually very, very cold, especially kalau aircon 16 degrees sa Jokto. Okay, what explains the changes of mass in 6 hours? Alright, so let's have a look. So this picture shows you basically the picture before and after 6 hours. So you have 6 hours right there. And let's see the experiment. You have a cotton wool over here. You have a layer of oil and water. Okay, so layer of oil, what does it do to the water? Here it prevents, this one prevents water from escaping up, because yeah, oil is what we call hydrophobic. That means it's basically the oil is there to prevent water from escaping from the flask itself. I'm not sure about the cotton wool though. Does that mean, is that just another barrier? Maybe to prevent any moisture from coming in as well? That means that whatever, maybe it's just an extra barrier. In any case, we know that the oil is there, and we're looking at photosynthesis. Photosynthesis can happen, and that means that, so if there is light and photosynthesis, that means our guard cells are open. That means that transpiration can happen. So if you have a look over here, at first is 3 to 6.75 grams and then jadi 3 to 1. So you actually, it became lighter. And obviously if you look over here and over here, the water level has reduced. So we are actually looking at loss of water here. So what explains the change in mass after 6 hours? So we're looking at loss of water. And how does the plant lose water? It's mainly by transpiration. So the answer is D over here. Because absorption of water into the root hairs, okay, but this one is not enough for water to be lost, right, by the leaves. Evaporation of water from the flask, it can't happen because there is oil. Photosynthesis in the leaves of the plant, photosynthesis does use up water, because photosynthesis itself is when you get CO2 plus H2O, and then sunlight and chlorophyll, and then you get C6H12O6 plus O2, and don't forget to balance your equation. And you can see that water is used up during photosynthesis, but loss of water through the plant is transpiration. Hence, the answer is D for question number 4. Okay, next up is question number 5. What shows how the rate of transpiration changes? What shows how? Oh, the English, sometimes I'm just like, I gotta read this multiple times. What shows how the rate of transpiration, so rate of transpiration changes when conditions of the atmosphere, I think that there's a, yeah, let me just move that. Atmosphere. Yes, in the atmosphere change. Okay, so we're talking about the rate of transpiration here. So let's see, reduced wind, and then increasing in humidity. So we're saying that which one of these, how will transpiration be affected by if the wind is reduced and if humidity is increased. Okay, firstly, let's draw our leaf. Okay, so we have our leaf over here, and we know the fact that there's always there's humidity, means that the amount of water vapor outside in the atmosphere, basically. So what does wind do to humidity, basically? Okay, so we also have air spaces inside the leaf, don't we? Okay, so let's say that there is a lot of water vapor inside the leaf because of basically evaporation, because of transpiration. Okay, so let's say that this is how much water vapor you have in the atmosphere. And when you have wind blowing, so the wind is blowing, whew, what happens is that it's gonna carry, can I? Yeah, awesome. Okay, so what the wind is gonna do is it's gonna carry this water away from the leaf itself. So if there's a lot of wind, that means there will be there's going to be less water vapor outside compared to inside the leaf. So we're going to have that high diffusion gradient. That means that we're going to have a lot of water being lost just by diffusion, and so transpiration rate would increase. So if we don't have that wind blowing the water vapor away, that means that humidity, that means the amount of water vapor will be a lot. So compared to just now, when there's less water vapor, diffusion gradient is much more lower now. So that means that transpiration would decrease. So if you reduce the wind, that means you're going to decrease transpiration, which is the loss of water vapor from inside to outside of the leaf. However, this is the same as increasing humidity as well. So increasing humidity means that there's much more water vapor outside of the leaf. And if you look over here, because there is more water vapor outside, so increase in humidity, this water vapor inside the airspace is not going to come out via diffusion, so we're not going to lose water vapor. So decrease as well. So question number 5, the answer is A. Okay, question number 6. What is the main cause of water moving up the leaves, into the leaves in the xylem vessels? So we've covered this before, and when we're looking at okay, so the root, from the root hairs to the xylem in the middle, that one is root pressure. And then going up a little bit, up the stem of the xylem in the stem, that would be capillarity. Sorry, my handwriting's bad. And having from here to the leaf and then lost in the atmosphere, that one is transpiration. So firstly, active transport has nothing to do with movement of water. Mainly active transport is for minerals. And evaporation from the epidermis of the leaf. Ooh, epidermis. Epidermis is the upper and lower epidermis. In it. And 아니거든요. We don't have the evaporation of the epidermis. Mainly the water film of moisture is at the mesophyll. So the answer is C, walls of the mesophyll. So it just, when they say walls of mesophyll, it just literally just means like the water film, because you know the wall, it's right outside the cell wall. So answer is C. It will not be D, because yes, water is being used up in photosynthesis, but it doesn't drive the force called the transpiration pull. Okay, question number 7. In which direction does water molecule move in the phloem and xylem of a plant stem? Okay, so one thing that I didn't actually explain to you guys is the fact that, okay, so how am I gonna draw I'm just gonna draw phloem in green and xylem in red, and the fact that the phloem has these sieve tubes in the middle. Sieve plates. Okay. So we know that with xylem, you move up only because of this transpiration pull. So the direction is just 1. But there's one thing about the phloem is the fact that water also moves into the phloem, because the thing is that the substances actually are transported, they're dissolved nutrients. Oh man, I'm so sorry. I hope you guys understood. Okay, maybe I'm just gonna yeah, so nutrients are actually dissolved, and when you dissolve nutrients, it's usually in water. So when it's talking about water molecules moving in the phloem, because you know that the phloem, the direction is movement of like the food translocation is up and down, so phloem is both up and down, and the xylem is only up only. Therefore, the answer we're looking at is D. Okay, question number 8. Okay, so this one right here. X marks the spot. So we know this is at the root. It even tells us that it is at the root. Okay, so over here you have your crazy big X right here. So that is your xylem. You can see the very thick walls as well. And then you have like the more of like that beehive kind of angular stuff, and that one is obviously, so X is your xylem and Y is your phloem. Okay, and then it's asking you here if the contents of cell X and cell Y is tested with Benedict's solution. Okay, firstly, we know that X, okay, let's see up here, X is a xylem. I'm gonna try to write properly for you guys. I'm gonna do my best to have better handwriting. Okay, Y is your phloem. Okay, and Benedict's solution is, if you guys remember from topic 5, is to test for reducing sugar. And for example, glucose. But actually sucrose is the transport sugar. I need to look at the answer scheme for this one later, because I don't know how specific this question is going to be actually. Okay. Let's see. Okay, iodine solution. Okay, iodine solution is testing for starch. Yes. Okay, so cell X, obviously, dude, we're not gonna be carrying any nutrients. So Benedict's and iodine are ania. Okay, so cell Y. What question number is this? Question number 8. Okay, well, just by doing that, we got our only answer is D. But it says here Benedict's solution is positive, right? And iodine solution is negative. Obviously, iodine wouldn't be there because you are not going to transport sugar. But the problem is sucrose, though. Sucrose, though. You can't test for sucrose using Benedict's, if I'm not mistaken. Unless you add hydrochloric acid, then it would be positive. So that is very tricky. I can't. Oh, this is really hard, but obviously, these two are for sure a negative. So we're just gonna take D as the best answer that we have right now. Let's try to ignore sucrose for now. Okay. Question number 9. In A-levels, you're going to learn how to test for sucrose, actually. You do use Benedict's, but you do need to use a hydrochloric acid to kind of separate the sucrose into glucose and fructose, and then you finally get Benedict's solution as a positive test. And that tells you that it's sucrose, but if you are testing for sucrose using Benedict's, you will get a negative test. I'm just pointing it out there. Okay, sorry. I'm burping a lot. I'm very, very gassy. Ooh, what's this? Painter Essentials upgrade. It's okay. Alright, question number 9. Which feature of root hair cells suggests that they take up ions by active transport? Okay, active transport is a movement of substances from lower concentration to higher concentration against a concentration gradient, and it uses energy. So if you guys just remember that, it's going to help us answer this question. So cell membranes are partially permeable. Okay, but it doesn't tell us anything to do with active transport, does it? Having a large surface area, good to help increase absorption, rate of absorption. They have lower water potential than the soil. Come on, water potential, active transport, ania, nothing to do with each other. but they take up ions more slowly in low oxygen content concentrations. D is the best one, because so this means that active transport occurs with the use of energy. So if you have low oxygen, that means that you're gonna have less energy, because what we're looking at over here is energy is only released via respiration, right? Respiration is when you get, especially aerobic, you get glucose plus oxygen, and then the mitochondria, and you get tons of energy, and then plus H2O plus CO2. So as we have less oxygen, that means less energy. So less ions being taken up. The answer for question number 9 is D4. Okay, question number 10. Oh, I need to erase this. Okay. The cut shoot of a plant is placed in a beaker containing a solution of blue dye for 1 hour. Okay, blue dye. Okay, dye. Blue dye means that, so that's my water molecule. I'm just going to draw it as a circle, and if it's a blue dye, it's going to be attached to my water molecule. So what we're looking at, okay, I don't want to show you guys my water molecule as just a circle. I want to give you guys a real water molecule right there, like a Mickey Mouse. Okay, so we're looking at water moving the dye. So the stem is cut through X and examined under a microscope, and then so this is the shape of the vascular bundle at the stem. You know this by looking at the circle, and it's kind of like bunched up and in a circular form, and then you know that in the middle, X for xylem, and then outside is the phloem. So any of these that are inside is the xylem. Okay, so it says here which is the blue dye most concentrated. So if you know how dyes work, dyes attach themselves to a water molecule. So we're looking at xylem here. So which one of these is pointing at the xylem? It is D for donkey. Question number 10 is D. And then if you guys want question number 11, so I'm just going to skip that. Okay, question number 12. The diagram shows the section through a plant stem. Which process is responsible for moving substances in region Z? Again, in the middle is always the xylem. I mean, if it's on the stem and the root, and outside is the phloem, so we're looking at the phloem here. Okay, which process is responsible for moving up? Okay, I totally forgot to mention this to you guys, is the fact that moving food up and down the plant is called translocation. Trans as in moving. I forgot what I told you guys, what this means, but let me just check my phone for a little bit. Okay, Express homeroom, not homeroom, Express 21. And I think I explained to you guys. Yep, so trans means on to the other side of, and locate as in location, changing location. So translocation is basically the process of moving food up and down the plant, especially in the phloem. And the answer is C for question number 12. Okay, question 13, you want me to ignore that one, and now we have question 14. Okay, so here we have a diagram of the pathway of water molecules through the leaf seen under the microscope. Transfer section, water evaporate. Okay, water would evaporate at the surface of the mesophyll layer, so that is C right there. And then after that, the water vapor will go into this space, and they will diffuse out through the stomata. Okay, next, question 15. What is not a function of transpiration? Causes minerals to travel up and down the plant. Hmm. Minerals. Oh, sorry. Oh, gosh. Minerals is traveling up the plant because that's the xylem. There's going up is minerals plus water. Okay. Next is water moving from the roots to the leaves is definitely transpiration. Helps to keep the plant cool. Kind of, yes, actually, because the fact about evaporation. Evaporation is a loss of water, right, through a surface, and for that, what happens is that when the water molecules change state from liquid to gas, this process actually you need to take up energy, isn't it? So you're actually losing energy, losing heat. Is that it? No, you gain energy. Yeah, you gain energy. So these water molecules are gaining energy to become water vapor. So that means that it's removing that energy from the surface of the leaf. So hence cooling effect overall. It's the same concept as when you are sweating. The reason why we sweat as well is to actually remove, so this is hair on skin. I'm trying to draw skin right there. So when we have sweat on top of the skin, we want the water in the sweat to evaporate, also bringing the heat away from the skin. So keeping the plant cool is a yes, and releasing energy in cells is not transpiration, it is respiration. Sorry. So D is your answer for question 15. Okay, question 16. 30 minutes of talking already. My shoulders are hurting. Okay, let's do this. We can do this together, guys. Okay, the diagram shows part of a tree trunk. Okay, so the phloem has been removed. So what this shows you, for example, so we're looking at the stem, isn't it? So we're looking at here, and the fact that is this part is removed. So what is left is the xylem only. So if you remove the phloem, basically you can't transport nutrients up and down the plant, and it says here that the tree will eventually die. And why? Okay, mineral salts to the leaves, the xylem is still attached, so it's not the answer. Organic nutrients to the roots. Oxygen to the roots. Nothing to do. The roots can get their oxygen by the root hair cells getting it from the soil. Water to the leaves. 아니거든요. Because xylem is still there. And what's left is B, organic nutrients to the roots. So it's gonna die because the phloem's main function is to transport nutrients in the form of sucrose mainly, and sucrose can be converted into glucose, and this is needed as energy for the roots, but since the phloem is gone, you can't get that, so that's the reason why they die. Okay, question number 17. Okay, which statement best describes the movement of water through the stem of a plant? Okay, so we're looking at water here, so we're definitely looking at the xylem here and transpiration or something. Okay, water moves up the stem as it evaporates from the leaves. Yes, water moves up the stem as it's pushed by water entering the roots. No, because that one is root pressure and it just goes kind of like into the middle of the xylem, but going up a bit is capillarity and going right out is transpiration pull. Water moves up the stem because it is used in photosynthesis. 아니요. Water moves up the stem by osmosis. Nope. So the best answer is actually A. Okay, question 18. A plant was placed in water containing black dye, and just like what we talked about before, is that when we have dyes, so like a black dye, it's gonna be attached to water molecules, so we're looking at where water is transported. So which diagram shows the results? So we're looking at, so if it's on the root, we know it's an X, and then over here is the phloem. Xylem is in the middle, and then if it's at the stem, we know that it's in this circly form, and the middle is the xylem, outside is the phloem. So the best here is A, where it's in the middle and inside. Question 19. Which statement about the root hairs is correct? Cell membrane can allow movement of water into and out of the cell. Correct. Cell vacuole extends to the root hair. Correct, because when we look at the root hair cell, it's like this, and then like that, and also the cell wall on the outside like that. Okay, so it does extend out. The vacuole extends out so that you have this reduction of diffusion distance, and osmosis can happen as well quickly. Okay, so they are formed as an extension outer layer of the root cells. Correct. So 1, 2, and 3. 19 is A. Question 20. Oh my god, guys, we're almost there. What is the main cause of water moving up to the leaves in xylem vessels? Not active transport. Evaporation from the epidermis. Not epidermis, it's in the mesophyll. Yes. Not this. Is this a repeating question? Let me see. Daddy, we did have this question as well. This one is in 2019, yeah. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just really curious. Why can't I just like search it? Aha. 2016 and 2019 have the same questions. Interesting. So you can see that they actually repeat questions. Okay, wait, sorry. Moved on way too fast. Okay. Water and ions, question number 21. Water and ions reach the xylem of a plant root through cell walls, passing through a cell membrane. How do these substances move through the cell wall? So cell wall is fully permeable. So we're not going to look at osmosis here. Water, diffusion. Ions, diffusion. Fully permeable, only diffusion. Remember osmosis, partially permeable membrane. Okay, question 22. Contents of cell Y. Now it's called Y. The drawing looks, the picture looks the same. Y is the xylem. Okay, the Benedict's solution, iodine. Benedict's is test for reducing sugars. Iodine is test for starch. And obviously ani, because they don't carry that. Xylem carries water and minerals only. So that is the answer. Okay, you don't want question number 23. And lastly, finally, question 24. Okay, the diagram shows a cut plant shoot in the container of water. Okay, so oh my gosh, guys, I'm triggered by this question because I have this problem with insects stuck in on my plants outside. They're called aphids and they are annoying. Anyway, so they suck the sugar from the phloem of my plants. Anyways, so what will stop the movement of water up this stem? Okay, so we don't care about the phloem because phloem, okay, they do contain, there's water there, but it's not losing water, right? And moving water up the stem is, so stem, firstly, you have the capillarity, but we're mainly talking about, I think, transpiration here. Okay, and so which one of these will affect transpiration? So a fall in humidity of the air, that means less humid. So humidity low means transpiration is high because of that diffusion gradient is much more larger. Okay, a rise in air temperature definitely can have more transpiration because more evaporation. And then blockage in the xylem. Xylem is blocked. Water moving up the stem, definitely. Insects that can, no, because come on. Insects are going to affect my phloem and my sugar, but not my water. So the answer is C. And everybody, that is the end of our tutorial today. Please text me if you guys have any other issues, especially with my explanation. If you want me to explain it even more further, please do text me. Send me a message on Google Classroom, or send me a message via WhatsApp or something. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for sticking through it today and actually doing your corrections. I am always, always thankful and proud of you guys. I hope you have a good day. 사랑해요. Goodbye, everybody. See you next time.